The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Welcome back, Dan Moriarty. It's been too long, man.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. And Pat Duffy, the GOAT.
Yeah, we're celebrating, I guess, by accident, the history of Sabres jerseys in this 50th anniversary season, the GOAT head, which I've had since I was like 15 years old.
The GOAT, Pat Duffy, the GOAT.
I love the GOAT head. Big GOAT head guy.
All right. Hey, let's talk NFL refereeing as much as we hate to. How come they're, with everything at our disposal, why aren't they getting this more right?
It's going to be interesting this week with owners' meetings going on in the NFL, and if they make any mid-season changes. We saw what they did last year, kind of making things worse, I think, by adding this whole instant replay thing that nobody has figured out so far. And with what's gone on this season, with how last season ended with the playoffs and all the noise now, it's not even just the media and the fans talking about it. The players are talking about it. I don't think it'll be too long before we start to hear some coaches talking about it. It's the NFL kind of has a mess on their hands here, so they're gonna have to figure out a way to move forward. I just don't know what the best way that is.
He brought up that the pass interference, the extension of the rules on the pass interference. You can challenge that. This is like the one conspiracy theory that seems to make some sense. They won't enforce that. They're refusing to, on their own, enforce.
Listen, the only reason why they have that is to prevent an egregious error like what happened last season. Why didn't you just design the rule that way, where you have someone upstairs that says this was an egregious error? That would make it so much more simple. Now you're allowing these coaches, who, by the way, are also at fault. If you're seeing the statistical data that shows you're not going to get this challenge overturned and you decide to take a risk, stop it. But there's two reasons why the refereeing looks so bad today as compared to 30 years ago. One, it's we have the ability to go back and try and flip things, and they're not being flipped, so it makes it look 1,000 times worse. But I think the biggest reason is these players are now bigger and faster and too big and too fast for human eyes to be able to detect these penalties in the moment. And then you overcompensate, and it causes these phantom calls. If you just eliminated review all the way through, just human error, I think you have much less controversy than if you have the review process we have now.
Or the one we've got.
Yeah.
Or flip the script. I think what bothers me about it is I think they've turned the challenging and the refereeing into a competitive thing where the coach has to make those decisions, or he gets penalized for it, he loses a timeout. It says we shouldn't be making sport of the referees getting it right. And rather than do away with it, to me, I mean, college football is doing it with a quick replay from above. Even the NHL, which is usually behind everything, it has a better replay system than football.
Oh, I disagree with NHL's replay system because it makes the game drag on forever, and then you have conspiracy theories coming from Toronto about what doesn't get reviewed. Could you imagine if you saw an egregious missed call? Let's go with, I don't know, Packers-Lions the other night, right? And the Packers get a call overturned from the NFL where the Lions don't. The automatic anger is going to be, well, the Packers are a premier franchise, the Lions get no respect. I mean, there's problems in every single review process.
You get that anyway.
But it would be that much more emphasized, like the way it is. Because listen, the Sabres had a whole bunch of goals that should have been overturned last season. I mean, as a fan, I feel this way. And I felt the Sabres didn't get their due diligence because all of a sudden they started collapsing and nobody cared about the Sabres anymore. They wanted Toronto and they wanted Tampa Bay. Like, you're going to get that angle of it.
Jeez.
I know, you're terribly wrong.
I just think that
Monday night,
doing it that way
they even messed up a scoring play, which is not supposed to be messed up. The touchdown pass along the left sideline by Aaron Rodgers, the guy was on the 1-yard line. You could see that clearly on the pylon cam, and for whatever reason, no one looked at it, and those are supposed to be looked at.
Point exactly.
So it's for whatever reason, the NFL can't get any of it right, and we did see Matt Patricia decide not to challenge the pass interference that wasn't called when the Lions had the ball last.
And the one last thing on this that bothers the heck out of me, the analysts that they've got up in the booths for all the networks who are simply up there to apologize for the officials and to tell you, to try to convince you that you saw something you didn't see.
Yeah.
Because our officials got it right.
That hasn't been, although Monday night was not like that.
Monday night was horrible.
Yeah, Monday night was not like that. Booger McFarland did not hold back, and whoever the
Oh,
ref
but
they had
mostly the referee.
But
guy.
even the ref on the broadcast was like, I can't defend this. Like, because it was clear on the hands of the face calls that there was nothing there, and they just completely blew it. Is there a way to put in like a system where things that are completely blown, everybody sees, you're able to fix those things on the field, especially when it's that quick.
But that's perspective too. Like, what is completely blown? Now you're going to do a whole different discussion. Listen, there's no right way to do it. Go back to no reviews, and whatever happens, happens. It's the end of the story.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brew House and Talking Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by Genesee Brew House. It's great to have the Bills back. I hate the bye week.
Yeah, me too. I was in Rhode Island with my family, and I hate my family, so it's so nice. So nice to have football back. I'm excited.
To keep it relevant. Miami comes in with all the. And I was thinking about this team. It says for a team that's the worst in the NFL, they're almost overachieving.
Yeah, it is remarkable. Like, I was looking the other day at the NFL stats, team rankings, and they are second to last or last in all but two statistics. One of them being average drive start, which is the 26th, and the only reason they're up in that is because they keep getting balls kicked out of the end zone after they get scored on. And the other one was passing yards allowed, because in the middle of the third quarter, nobody's throwing the ball against them. Like, the only two statistics where they're not dead last are results of them being as horrible as they are. Like, they are a ridiculously bad team. That being said, I feel very, very uncomfortable about this game Sunday against the Dolphins.
16.5 points.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially with the way the Bills' offense is played. I know that the Dolphins are historically bad. Now, Sean McDermott did give them a nice compliment this week, saying they don't beat themselves with penalties. So it's not penalties that are their problem. It's just everything else that they're doing out there.
They don't snap the ball over the punter's head.
They just
It's like a small thing.
They just don't have any players, and that's the biggest problem. Although we have Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in this week, and we all know what he's capable of doing 1 week out of the season. I mean, he's had these weeks throughout his career where he has put a special game together, and who's to say that he couldn't do it in Orchard Park, a place where he had some special games.
Shut up! What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me?
That's exactly what you're thinking about right now.
Of course I'm thinking about that. I don't want to think about that. Why would you bring that up again? Why would you say it?
So they're better with him.
Yes,
in Buffalo this week.
Of course, I think that any team that is struggling like that is better with Ryan Fitzpatrick, because listen, if you lose, you're going to lose anyway. Ryan Fitzpatrick, his unique talent in this league is to take chances that no one else will take, and an arm that is surprisingly accurate and powerful when you don't expect it to be.
And he can still move.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And everything's working out perfect for them. They lose to Washington on the two, so they retain the winless record, and it looks like, well, but they're not as bad as we think. So what do you think? Do you give or take the 16.5?
What was the number last year, the Bills going into Minnesota? That was, 17?
Yeah, it was high.
Yeah.
And they beat them.
Those sort of spreads worry me. I think the Bills are going to win this game, but 16.5 is a lot of points for the Bills to cover. It'd be nice to see them come out of this bye week firing on all cylinders. Hopefully they get a bunch of these guys back and they're ready to roll on Sunday, and hey, they go out there and win 35-0. That would be awesome. But we haven't really seen them put a full game together. Hopefully the Dolphins are the team to do it against, but 16.5 is too big a number. I'm going with the Dolphins.
I don't think you've done this yet. You taking points with this one?
Yeah, I'm taking the points, and here's why. The terrifying statistic of the week if you're a Bills fan. The last time the Bills were favored by 16.5 points, that much, was 1992 against the New York Jets, and they lost that game straight up. They lost that game to the Jets. Also, fun fact, the Bills are only 4-2 in games where they're favored by 16.5 points or more, which is remarkable for two reasons. One, they've only had 6 games in their franchise where it's been that high. Also, you've lost that many games when favored by 16.5 points. I think the Bills could still put on a dominant performance and win by 2 touchdowns. You have back-end covers, which the Dolphins might be able to pull off for you. Bills win. They don't cover the 16.5, but I am very, very nervous about what could happen in the second half of this game.
You have to be. Does the bye week play into this at all? You know, that they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Dolphins?
I'm much more comfortable with a Sean McDermott team in a game like this than I would be if Rex Ryan pounding his chest as a head coach looking past a team like the Dolphins. So I think Sean McDermott and the way he handles situations like this, they'll go out there and win the game. I'm not worried about that, but 16.5, that's a big
and because I've been wrong all year, I'll take Miami in the 16.5. It's working.
Yeah, you're terrible.
I'll keep it up. There you are, the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, the inevitability of Gerrit Cole winding up with the New York Yankees next year.
This one's interesting, especially with his story. We know that he grew up a Yankee fan. The Yankees drafted him in the first round. He decided to go to college and got drafted by the Pirates. The Yankees had a chance to trade for him with the Pirates, didn't make that move, and now he's probably going to go win a World Series with the Houston Astros this year. There's a bunch of teams out there with money. We know the Dodgers have money. The Yankees have all these big contracts on the horizon, and they made that stupid trade for Giancarlo Stanton, which has become an albatross for them moving forward. So I don't think it's a guaranteed situation whatsoever, especially with the sort of money that's going to be thrown around when it comes to Gerrit Cole. He's looking at like $250+ million. The Yankees still got to pay Aaron Judge. They're going to have to pay Gleyber Torres coming up in a few years as well. They've got big contracts, homegrown contracts coming up on the horizon, throwing around $250 million when Steinbrenner wants to stay within that luxury tax threshold. It's not necessarily a given situation that he's going to the Yankees.
All right, that's the answer I wanted. Hey, he brought up Giancarlo Stanton, since you face this every day. The Reggie Jackson thing where he got caught what he thought was not a live mic.
Oh, yeah.
Cursing out Stanton. How great is that?
I mean, not great if you're one of those guys that gets caught on not a live mic. I mean, I'm usually very cautious, except around you guys, so I'm sure there'll be something that'll pop out of this show eventually that'll ruin my career, but I appreciate that.
Like it or not, we talked about this last week, the whole China situation, the NBA, the fact LeBron James, the things LeBron James said that didn't seem to coincide with the rest of the things he said.
Yeah, he finally speaks. I mean, I guess I'm disappointed in LeBron James, because here's the thing, like, whatever the political belief is, like, if you decide you're going to have a social stance on something, what's LeBron decided to come out and do when it came to what was going on here in America? God bless you. In fact, he built his brand over the last couple of years on this, I am more than just an athlete. Then you have an opportunity to really put your money where your mouth is, because LeBron James and Nike make a fortune in China. His words to these people would mean a whole heck of a lot. It's a situation he put himself in, and I feel like he dropped the ball. I mean, listen, I don't blame a guy for wanting to protect your bank account, but it also seems to me everything that you've done over the last couple of years maybe was more of a branding thing than it was how you actually felt. I also understand that people aren't experts on absolutely everything, and maybe LeBron doesn't feel comfortable speaking on these things because he's not versed back and forth. But to tell someone else that their opinion was misinformed and then not give an opinion yourself makes you a giant hypocrite.
Even if you didn't think that way, why wouldn't you just lie about it? Why wouldn't you just say we need to support these people from Hong Kong, whether you believe it or not? Because it's consistent with, as you said, building his brand.
Well, here's why, because that eliminates his brand. What do they have? They have 1 billion people in China that are potential shoe and sneaker.
But it's not going to touch him directly.
I don't know, does it?
No, but it hurts the NBA. I didn't realize quite how much revenue came in from China for the NBA. Conservative estimates out there are $500 million a year.
Isn't your reputation more important than that?
Yeah, but I think
especially a guy who goes to the extremes he does to build that reputation.
It's not just him, though. It's the NBA in general. Like, there are already GMs out there that are saying that the salary cap next year might go down 15% based on how upset China is. Like, so that's every player in the league making less money. So there's a lot of pressure from up top. But like you said, when you've spoken on other things, people expect you to come out and yes. So he's put himself in this situation.
You did it. Yes, you did it to you. Like, you have no one to blame but yourself for putting your foot in your mouth in this situation. And I don't know. I'm disappointed. Be consistent about the whole thing.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
This cinnamon sugar pumpkin latte looks amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I wish I were this creative.
Oh, I'm not that creative.
Oh, wow. Did you just carve this?
I did, yeah.
Try our new signature latte. It's all things pumpkin at Dunkin'.
And if he were to maintain, what he's done so far, he'd be fine. I think there should be a Hall of Fame exhibit for Fitz, to be honest with you. I really do think a guy with his skill level, the fact that he started so many games in the NFL for so many teams, is a testament to his smarts and how well he adapts and how well he can play for moments. It's just how long can he stretch the moment out for him?
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We're the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
There are some players of your favorite team that after they leave your team, you just beg them to retire. As Bills fans, one of them was Fred Jackson, right? You just waited for him to be done so you could love him again. And then Andre and Bruce and Thurman, when they had their weird endings on other teams, you just wanted it to be over so you could put their jersey on again. We talked earlier how Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting for the Dolphins on Sunday. Ryan, please stop. I want to love you. I want to wear your jersey to the stadium. I want to celebrate you as the guy that you were here in Buffalo. A fun-loving, completely out of nowhere, everybody appreciated you kind of quarterback. But I can't do that right now, and it's your fault. Why do you keep bouncing around the league the ways that you do? You have ways to make money, man. You got a Harvard education. You're only making like $1 million or $2 million a year, potentially putting yourself in danger. For your sake, for my sake, for all Bills fans' sake, let this be the last time I have to look you in the face and want you to lose, because it breaks my heart, Ryan, and we all need you back.
We're only a couple of weeks away from the start of the college basketball season as the 75-year-old Jim Boeheim, the oldest coach in D1 history, will step onto the floor as Syracuse's basketball coach for the 44th season. Syracuse flying completely under the radar this year, not in any of the top 25 rankings. 5 freshmen, a bunch of no-name players. They do have Elijah Hughes with a lot of expectations going into this year, but I think this is a fun Syracuse team. Syracuse has a bunch of shooters, something they haven't had in a few years, and that's really the way that you need to play basketball now, spreading it out, passing the ball. They've got a bunch of good passers as well. This will be a much more fun team to watch than these past couple of years with these isolation players that Syracuse has had. So despite there being no pub going into the season, sometimes that's been the best thing for these Jim Boeheim teams. Some of the best teams we've seen from him have been these teams under the radar, not in the top 25. Even when they won a national championship back in 2003, they weren't in the top 25 to start the year. So keep an eye out for the Syracuse Orange and look for the old man to surprise some people this year.
It's coming pretty soon. So, look, if it happens, call it. If it doesn't happen, don't call it. The Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, Monday Night Football. Trey Flowers gets called twice for hands in the face defensively. Flowers is learning what it's like to be out of the protective bubble of being a New England Patriots, who would never have had that call made against him. You'll remember last year in the playoffs, the biggest call of the season was obviously the one that kept the New Orleans Saints out of the Super Bowl. The pass interference call that was not made. In some ways, the calls that were made against Flowers on Monday night are worse than that. Not as egregious because historically they don't have that impact. But the difference is the offense didn't occur. If it doesn't occur, you can't call it. If you do call it, it's inherently dishonest. If it doesn't occur, you can't call it because it didn't occur. And the only person that didn't know that was the referee who made that call. Unfinished Business, presented by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Do you want to say something?
If it didn't happen, you can't call it, but he did call it. which makes it worse than what Nick.
Yeah, because if something doesn't happen, you
felt-
can't call it.
How hard is it to call what you see?
Thank you.
I failed algebra multiple times. I'm not following what's happening. If A is greater than B, maybe.
Now you're going to get me. Danny, thanks for coming.
Thanks for
always
having
like
me.
seeing you.
Appreciate it.
Pat, as always.
Oh, you guys.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week with the Rochester Press Box.